You can't blame them, right? You cannot blame them.
I agree with you, by the way. They cannot skip over Harris because it would be a monumental admission that she wasn't qualified when they picked her in the first place. They have to go to Harris. They have to go to Harris.
But here's my question.
But let me tell you what you're going to. The idea that you're going to something a little better. I mean, if it's a little, it's by a smidge. I mean, her approval rating right now is about 38%. Not much different than Joe Biden, and she would be tied to the worst and most unpopular parts of the Biden agenda. Let me ask you guys a question. What about Kamala Harris's forays into presidential politics has convinced any of you that this would be anything other than a huge dumpster fire? When she ran for president, it was the literal worst.
Well,
her high water mark was...
I covered her in 2020.
It was awful. And now her vice presidency has been awful. What about this?
I covered her in 2020. It's ticket.
I feel like I need to take up for the president here.
Yes. Do it, Scott.
Because he won millions upon millions of votes.
Yes, he did.
To earn the Democratic nomination. And I just find it delicious that the party of democracy is now organizing a coup against the sitting president of the United States.
It's very telling that is the talking point, though, from Republicans.
Yeah,
they are sticking up for the democratic process,
of course,
the right of voters to. But they want Joe Biden in this race. The Trump campaign wants Joe Biden in this race.
Despite what every time Karen and I are on TV, she says, "Well, I heard this was getting 5 points for Joe, but if everything you said was true, he'd be ahead 100-0." I mean, why is Donald Trump winning? Because Joe Biden has a terrible, terrible approval rating, A. So the results of the presidency are already, people lost confidence in that. And B, now everybody knows he's not even capable of being president today, let alone for 4 more years. No Project 2025 malarkey is going to change any of that. The contours of the race are set.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the Democrat Party Civil War, which is my favorite topic, if you guys couldn't tell, because the Democrat Party is on a one-way trip towards destruction. And the reason why is because of Trump derangement. It's kind of funny to me because Democrats have made the argument for years that Republicans need to abandon Trump because Trump will destroy the Republican Party. Well, it turns out that Trump derangement is destroying the Democrat Party, right? Maybe if the Democrat Party wasn't so Trump deranged, they wouldn't be destroying themselves right now, which is essentially what they're doing, okay? Mutually assured destruction is happening in the Democrat Party because Democrats are coming out against Joe Biden one by one and saying that, hey, he needs to step down. And their argument for this is that, well, Biden can't beat Trump, okay? Biden can't beat Trump, according to them. So it went from vote for Joe Biden to save democracy to overthrow Joe Biden, stage a coup against Joe Biden to save democracy, right? You see how that works? Okay. If you vote for whatever puppet that the Democrats eventually place Joe Biden with, then you are a special kind of stupid, right? I'm here to tell you because quote unquote saving democracy has nothing to do with actually saving democracy, saving your right to vote or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with saving their power. Okay. So again, if you guys just replace democracy with Democrat power, it all makes sense, okay? It went from vote for Joe Biden to save Democrat power, right, to now stage a coup against Joe Biden to save Democrat power. Now, there are no contradictions, right? It all really makes sense because it's always been about power and control. And again, this is why Democrats are coming out in full force and calling for Joe Biden to step down while at the same time telling him that he can't beat Trump, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that because Democrats continue to say it, they're essentially making it highly unlikely that Joe Biden can beat Trump or less likely that Joe Biden can beat Trump because they've already let the genie out of the bottle and said that, hey, well, we don't have confidence in Joe Biden, right? We don't have confidence in him. So I'm not entirely sure how you can tell people to vote for Joe Biden if he chooses to stay in the race, okay? But again, Democrats, they're coming out in droves. And again, they are staging this coup against Joe Biden, and Joe Biden has dug in. And as of right now, he's not resigning, at least not yet.
There's no way to go now to say I considered. I mean, it's humiliating. There's no way around it if that's what happens. I mean, Abby, to that point, Democrats have done a really good job of shooting at their own nominee. A horrible reference. I shouldn't have used those words, but they have been. That's where the fire has been coming from. How much longer can it go on?
Well, if you're one of the Democrats who feels incredibly vulnerable right now electorally in terms of the fundraising, you want this to end in the next couple of days because the clock is ticking to the convention. That's really the time frame that people who want another nominee, they think that they have to get this done really in the next week in order to have a shot at a process going into the convention. But if you are Joe Biden, you think you actually need to just hold out until the convention when he becomes, actually not even then, they're going to have a roll call vote that would make him the official nominee in just a matter of a few days, actually. And I think Biden sees the timeline very differently. He sees between now and the convention as a relatively short period of time where he can push back on these calls. But for the Democrats who are in these tough races, the Sherrod Browns of the world, they really are putting on the pressure now because really this next week is a crucial window if it's going to be someone else.
Yeah, so you see now, you heard that, okay? Most of the focus is on what Democrats in Congress want, okay? Which Democrats want Joe Biden to step down? Which Democrats want Joe Biden to stay, okay? As they stage a coup against the man, right, to get him out of office. But nobody's focused on what the voters want, okay? And when you actually talk to the voters, it seems as if they don't really know what they want, which in my opinion is the worst case scenario for the Democrats. And it's basically going to guarantee that there is a disaster if Democrats decide to move forward with this coup against Joe Biden and having an open convention, okay? In my opinion, it will be a disaster, right? It's like a slow moving car crash is happening to the Democrat Party right now. And speaking of car crashes, you want to make sure that you have proper representation if you happen to get injured in a car crash or an accident. That is why the sponsor of this video is Morgan & Morgan. Guys, I've been injured in a motor vehicle accident. You've probably been injured in a motor vehicle accident or somebody that you know, okay? We all have somebody that we know, whether it be ourselves or somebody else, that has been injured. And sometimes that injury can be worth millions of dollars. And this is why the sponsor of today's video is Morgan & Morgan, who wants to let you know that they do not settle for lowball offers, because oftentimes that is exactly what insurance companies try to do to clients. But Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you the money that you deserve. All law firms are not the same, and Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. They have won a lot, and it only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case. And as America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan is ready and prepared to take on insurance companies of every size. If you are in an accident or injured in any way, you should know how to protect your rights. Don't overthink it. Take actions to protect your rights today, and Morgan & Morgan will fight for you to get you the compensation that you deserve. For example, they have achieved significant verdicts in the past couple of months for victims involved in life-altering car crashes. They had a $12 million settlement out in Florida, 34 times the insurance offer, and $26 million out in Philadelphia, which is 40 times the highest insurance offer. And the best part is that the fee is absolutely free unless you win. If you've ever got seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you are just a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. And it is so easy. You can start your claim today with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/blackconservative, which is the special link in the description, or you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen in order to get started.
Months ago, veteran pollster Frank Luntz sat down with a group of 17 voters who were undecided before last month's consequential debate between Biden and Trump. And a lot has happened since, admittedly. Are there any closer to making up their minds about who should lead the Democratic ticket?
Just a step aside, which I think is his choice, then Harris is next in line. I would hate to see that process circumvented.
I think we hear Kamala Harris. I don't know that she can win, though, which is sad.
I wish I could give you a name, but as well, I don't know.
Maybe Gavin Newsom, maybe.
I think their best chance at that would be Andy Bashir.
Wow.
Joining me now, Frank Luntz. This is not very good news if you are the Biden-Harris ticket, that they are not just undecided. They don't want anyone.
Yeah. It is. It's terrible news, right? It's absolutely terrible. Again, this is why an open convention is going to be a disaster, right? This is why I'm hoping that they do this, right? I'm hoping they go through this whole process for multiple reasons, right? One, again, it's going to destroy the Democrat Party. Two, it's essentially going to make sure that any candidate that actually does survive and comes out as a nominee, they are going to have a hard time getting the support of all the salty individuals who are upset that their candidate wasn't chosen, right? The Kamala coalition, Joe Biden, if he unwillingly steps aside, if they legitimately make Joe Biden step aside, without him actually wanting to do so, yeah, it's going to be an absolute disaster. And again, the main reason is because voters aren't even unified in who they want, which is a product of the Democrat Party not having a primary, right? This is the whole point of having a primary. If Democrats would have had a primary fair and square, like they should have, then this would be an issue. This would be an issue at all, because you would know who would be the best candidate to take over, at least considering who the people voted for, right? You would already know. But now you have a bunch of voters, undecided voters, who are saying, well, I don't know if Joe Biden should step down. But if he does step down, they have no clue who they should rally behind, right? No clue whatsoever. And again, the funny part about this is that all of this is happening because of Trump derangement. And Democrats now, they're going to have to double and triple down on it, because now they have to go out and tell people that, well, hey, you might not know who Andy Beshear is, or Josh Shapiro is, or Gretchen Whitmer is, or Gavin Newsom is, but, you know, they're better than Trump. Trust us, right? Trump terrible, Trump bad, okay? This is what they're going to do. And I'm hoping that the American people don't fall for it, right? Because, again, as you just saw, clearly the voters have no clue who they want. A lot of them probably don't even know who these candidates are that the Democrats are going to put up. So the trust is not going to be there. But what they're going to do is that they're going to double and triple down on the derangement. What the media is going to do is that they're going to essentially pretend like the next Democrat Party nominee is like the second coming of Christ, right? This is what they're going to pretend like. They're going to have some coronation. They're going to say that he's the guy that can defeat Trump, or woman that can defeat Trump. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to pretend like he's God's gift to earth, right? And they're going to lie about his record. That's what they'll do. But I think in the process of getting to that point, the Democrat Party will be in such shambles that it won't matter, okay? Because they're all undecided, right? They're undecided. They don't know. And when your party doesn't know, when they're not on the same page, and then, again, you're having this contentious convention where you have a lot of people that are going to be upset because you're skipping the person that a lot of people believe should be the next up, which is Kamala Harris. Yeah, that's a one-way trip towards disaster. And at this point, Joe Biden staying in the race is not really about winning, because I don't think that Biden can win. And the reason is because Democrats have damaged him too much. Can you guys imagine in November, Democrats trying to tell voters, hey, vote for Joe Biden, even though we told you guys we don't believe he's qualified, right? We don't believe he should actually be president. So they can't take that back. So Joe Biden staying in a race is not about winning, because I don't think he can win. I legitimately do not believe that Biden can win. I don't think it's possible. It's going to be about mutually assured destruction. Democrats coming out the way that they have against Joe Biden is them hitting the nuke button on the Biden administration. They know that if Biden stays in, that he won't be able to win because of their criticism. And Biden knows that. So Biden staying in is him basically saying, well, hey, mutually assured destruction. If I go down, we're all going down. Right? That's essentially what's going to happen to the party if Biden stays in. And he knows that. He knows that. It's really about getting back at Democrats. Biden saying, I don't care if I let Trump win. You guys are not just going to overthrow me like this. I'm going to stay in the race. It doesn't matter. Which, again, is hilarious, right? It really is. So that's what the Democrats are headed towards. It really is just bad options all around at this point.
And you're correct that it is Biden and Harris. And they basically want a new beginning. They want a new start. This session was very hostile to Donald Trump and his personal behavior, the things that he says and how he says it. But they were very disappointed in Joe Biden. They were shocked. That debate is going to go down in history as being the most consequential moment since the debate between Kennedy and Nixon in 1960. It really did change minds. They were not hostile to Joe Biden going in, but they became hostile when he came out. And Harris hasn't done anything to prove that she should be the heir apparent.
What do they think of the Trump speech last night? Because obviously they didn't harbor ill will before. Did they find that speech unifying enough to say, well, if this is the ticket, I'll go the other way?
So I always want to get it right, and I want to acknowledge I got it wrong last night, that I didn't realize how hostile they were to how long Trump went, to the language that he used. His teleprompter speech, wonderful. What he actually delivered, all the impromptu, was not so positive.
I want to hear what they told you. Let's listen to this.
Show of hands, how many of you would give Donald Trump's speech an A? 1. How many give him a B? 1, 2, 3. How many of you give him a C? And that's where we get everyone. Who would give him a D? 1, 2, 3 of you, 4 of you. And who would give him an F? So nobody flunks him.
Did that surprise you?
It surprised me because that's not what I thought. That's not what I saw. Because I was in the convention hall. And we have to be very careful who we surround ourselves with to give us an accurate impression. The core of what he said, bring the country together, focus on the future, get things done, the core is perfect. But the added stuff, the Trump stuff, the anger and the name calling simply doesn't sit well with them. And these are the people that Trump and Biden need to win.
Yeah, I do think that there is a decent argument to be made that whoever's in Trump's corner when it comes to his speeches needs to be like, yo, you kind of got to reel in the length, right? Especially when you're doing it on the national stage. Okay, at the rallies, say whatever you want, right? Do whatever you want, okay? Just be Trump. But when you're talking about major speeches, okay, that is being aired by networks, again, you talk about at the RNC or whatever, you got to reel it in. You got to be more concise and direct to the point, and more importantly, focused, okay? Showing that you're focused on solving the problems. And if you stick with that, again, this is a problem that's easily fixable, right? I'm not worried about people and their reaction to Trump's speech because it's not that big of a deal. Again, that's a problem that's easily fixable. Trump's just going to have some discipline and really understand that, listen, the constructive criticism is really about winning, okay? Again, at rallies, do whatever you want to do, say what you want to say. But I think when he gives these nationally televised speeches, I think he needs to just stick to the script, keep it concise, direct to the point. In 2024, people's attention spans are not that long, right? So when you start talking for an hour and 30, to 2 hours, a lot of people are going to tune it out. Just stick to the script with these national speeches, and I think he can clean that up very easily. I'm not super worried about people's reactions to this speech.
It's the last 4% of America. If they all swing one way or the other, they determine the election outcome. They were very disappointed with last night.
Have they given some sense of a ticket that they would support?
No, and that's the problem, is that normally if I bring you a problem, I have a solution. I can tell you where they don't have a solution. They want to start fresh, and they emphasize that. They don't like the politics of today. They don't like the yelling and screaming. They're looking for unity. They're looking for what Donald Trump promised but failed to deliver last night. And I do acknowledge that I didn't hear it, but I hear it now.
Yeah, I didn't really hear it either. But then again, I am probably biased, right? So I didn't think that Trump's speech was very divisive. But again, a lot of people in this country do have at least a mild case of Trump derangement, right? And again, that's why I think that when Trump is giving these nationally televised speeches, he really has to just stick to the script because he has to understand who he's talking to, right? You're not talking to your base. You're talking to everybody, right? And you're never going to lose your base sticking to the script, right? But you can lose people who are independent, who are on the fence when you go off script and you start, saying a bunch of stuff that might not necessarily be popular with independent voters, right? So again, this is an easily fixable problem, okay? I'm not too worried about this.
Do they ever react to the idea of the Democrats wavering on who should be at the top of their ticket?
They think that the wavering is correct. That debate destroyed their impression of Joe Biden. I know him. I know the man. I've known him for 20, 30 years, taught his son. So it gives me no pleasure to say that they want him to move on. They watched that debate. It was painful for them. They didn't think that Trump behaved presidentially, but they believe that Joe Biden is no longer presidential.
The idea of where this is all coming out certainly is not good news for the Biden-Harris ticket, but not necessarily for the Trump-Vance one either in America if they want a do-over. Frank Luntz, thank you.
Well, I disagree with that point. I think it is good for Trump and Vance, right? This is why you're seeing Trump skyrocket in the polls. But I think the overall point here is that, Democrats have damaged Biden too much post-debate for him to actually be able to beat Trump, right? So what has happened is that if Biden actually really does choose to stay in a race and to have a contested convention and Democrats are determined to overthrow him at the convention, that's going to be an absolute disaster, right? And Biden's not staying in at this point because he actually believes they can win. It has to be about revenge on the Democrat Party. And again, that's just the most amazing part about it, because the reason why Biden believes so much that, well, I'm the only person that can beat Trump and I must be the candidate, is because Democrats hyped him up to believe that, hey, you're the savior of the country. You saved the country, right? And black women saved the country as well, too. They said that as well, too. But guess what? They don't even want to rely on their so-called black woman in order to save the country again, right? It's just funny how that works. It's hilarious. What is happening to the Democrats is a result of Trump derangement going too far, right? It's like playing Pokemon, okay? When you run out of certain attacks, you start to hurt yourself, right? Because you don't have any attacks anymore. You spend it so much that you start to lose your own health points by spamming the same attack that just doesn't work anymore, right? So that's what's happening to the Democrats. I find it to be extremely fascinating. I think at this point, I'm just along to enjoy the ride. I don't care what Democrats do, because I don't think that what they do is really going to make a difference in regards to the final outcome. They just taken too much damage, and I'm not entirely sure how they can recover at this point. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.